School Committee meeting. The budget hearing will happen first. We'll hear a presentation from Dr. Marsden. Then the school committee will ask some questions or make comments about the presentation. After that, we'll open up to the public for comments and questions in person and online. We'll then close the budget hearing and the school committee will vote to take on the budget. And then we'll move on to our regular business meeting. I know Dr. Marsden will probably say this, but I feel like it's worth repeating that tonight's hearing is an important step in the budget process, but it's not the final step. This is the superintendent's recommended budget, and our role tonight is to understand it, ask questions, and hear from the public as it continues to move through the town process. At this time, I'd like to open the FY27 budget hearing with a roll call of the school committee. Michelle Kirkby here.
Diana Frischella here.
Leo Brem here.
Will Horn here.
Sophia Viglas here.
Thank you, and I'll hand it over to Dr. Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate you coming out to our proposed FY27 budget. Just some important information I'm going to go through prior to starting the budget presentation, and this is just kind of background information if you do this. The superintendent is the budget officer. The three general areas of responsibility for the superintendent as budget officer will be budget preparation, budget presentation, and then budget administration. So that kind of defines what my role is here tonight. Tonight's budget is called the superintendent's recommended budget. There's no official FY27 budget until the Medfield School Committee votes this evening. So if they vote to accept it, it then becomes the school committee's budget, and then we work from now until town meeting to get a number that works. If the budget is voted tonight, submitted to the town tomorrow, which is by charter, needs to be submitted to the town by the end of January, and then changes can still be made after the school committee vote. And then there's one part that if you're not used to municipal budgets, especially school budgets, it's organized by a chart of accounts that's designated by DESI. So you'll see things like 1,000 series, 2,000 series, 5,000 series, that kind of thing. And it's organized in that manner because that's how we're required to do it because of the Department of Ed. Just some important terms as we go through the process. Chapter 70. Chapter 70 are the funds that are earmarked as education funds, and they're sent down by the state. So if you see the numbers that as we go through the process, the governor just released her numbers last week, and there'll be a couple other sets of numbers that come through. Typically, Medfield is what we call a hold harmless district. There's over 200 districts in the Commonwealth that are called hold harmless. Those are districts that just get the minimum per student increase per year. So unfortunately, we're one of those districts, and right now, in the governor's budget, it's an additional $75 per student. Circuit breaker is a state reimbursement for special education. Once costs hit a certain threshold, we get reimbursed usually around 75%, and that's what we're going to look at this year, 75%. Collective bargaining agreements, or CBAs, are the contracts with our teachers, our teacher assistants, our custodians, secretaries, and cafeteria workers. Steps lanes, percent increase in longevity. That's the pay structure currently in CBAs. It's pretty straightforward. A step is a yearly increase on the salary grid, and lanes are increases based on degrees, and percent increase is your COLA, which is typical in most contracts. And then longevity bonus is a time accrued in Medfield. When you hit a certain amount, get additional money. Full-time equivalent, or FTE, is a full-time employee or a fraction of a full-time employee. A level service budget, which this is not. This is not a level service budget. It's same people, same programs from the previous year. And then, although not included in this presentation, a capital budget is separate from the operating budget. It is typically purchases that large items that last 5 years or longer. The capital committee is actually meeting tomorrow, and they're going to finalize some numbers. So they are actually, we did not include any capital in this presentation tonight. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at tonight. Always want to frame what we do around our mission statement. We're going to go through a budget timeline, the budget process, the assumptions and the drivers that we see this year, student enrollment numbers and projections over the next 3 years, funding sources, budget offsets, revenue, an analysis of FY27, per pupil expenditures, and a comparison of how we stack up against other communities around us, and then just a few thoughts going forward. Again, here's our mission statement. It really drives the work that we do every day in this district. Our core values are the behaviors that we want to model in our district, and our mission is what we do each day that drives what we do. Budget timeline, typically what we do in the budget timeline is we start around October and try to get a budget calendar with the school committee and try to hash that out. And then there's this whole series of meetings that take place with the department heads, the chairs, with Michael and I. We go through everything and the principals, and we try to develop a budget of need. We start at zero-based. We don't just add a percentage. We look at each budget item and add it based on need. And we're right up here to the public hearing. At this point, we'll submit the budget tomorrow if it's voted on by the school committee. And then February, March, additional meetings that happen with the warrant committee and with the school committee, and then the annual town meeting happens on May 4th. So the process to date, similar to what I just said, leadership team established priorities for each school after the school committee establishes the timeline, and then the principals, directors, department chairs develop their budgets, meet with Michael and I. Superintendent leadership team met to review the budget requests. We develop the FY27 initial budget, which we share every December at the December meeting. Typically, that's a level service or above level service budget. This year, it's actually was a level service was 5.02. We didn't go above. We didn't add any of the positions that were requested by principals and or directors. And typically, that number goes down from there in December. We have a larger number there because there's a lot of positions that we add, and then we move down to level service, but we did not do that this year. So when we developed the FY27 budget, we made some assumptions. The first one is a little bit of a wild card. Federal entitlement grants, we level funded. I guess it all depends on what happens every morning when someone wakes up, whether or not that's going to be true or not. But right now we're saying level funded, and it's going to stay the same. Our Chapter 70, which was released last week, was increased by $180,000, actually $175,500, give or take. That's the governor's budget. Although that's $75 a child, and that's the hold harmless number, we have heard that the House version of the budget is going to be $150 per child, which would give us an additional $360,000 over last year's Chapter 70. We're going to, with the assumption that we made, and we're going to ask the school committee to do this in a future meeting, is to reinstate full tuition for full-day kindergarten and increase tuition for our preschool program. We had it in our strategic plan, this was going to be the last year of reduced tuition for full-day kindergarten, with FY28 being no-cost full-day kindergarten. We're going to ask the school committee to suspend that so we have additional revenue to save some positions. And then the tuition increase with pre-K, and it's pretty clear that as costs go up, we haven't really adjusted our pre-K tuition in a number of years. So we're going to have a proposal for the school committee in a future meeting to do that. And then our circuit breaker, as we said earlier, we funded at 75%. So circuit breaker is that special ed reimbursement that we get, which includes transportation now, but transportation is not at 75% yet. Typical drivers we have for FY27, instructional and personnel costs, our CBA agreements, our contracts that we have with personnel. Typical school budget, 80+% is with personnel costs and people. Transportation, we're in our first year of our 3-year contract in FY27, and I think transportation costs all around are going up, and we're no different with that. With our special education, we have out of district. It's a driver, but it actually is not going up this year at this point. But that could certainly change before the end of the school year. But transportation is going up, and there's an additional $180,000 in our budget for special education transportation. And then health insurance costs, we typically include this as a driver. Even though it does not appear on our side of the budget, it does impact how much the town can allocate to schools. And unfortunately, that's the vote we're on this year, with a huge increase in health insurance costs that's happening, as we all know, statewide to towns and also in the private sector. So just to take a look at some more of the budget drivers, just put numbers to it. So existing staff, our teachers, Unit A, steps, lanes, percent of increase in longevity is increase of 912,000. Paraprofessionals, Unit B, 279, and all other staff, increase is 27,000, for a total increase on personnel this year of 1.2 million. Again, this is at the 3.9% increase. Some of the other expenses we have with supplies going up, technology, we're flatlining that, and then special ed out of district tuition, as we said, is a a decrease of $6,000, but our regular transportation and our district transportation have both gone up. So those are expenses that are fixed costs that we have that we really can't reduce at this point. Total budget change from FY '26 is $1.7 million, using the 3.9% increase. You'll see our student enrollment, pre-K through 5. We do have we have 2 bubbles of students that are coming in the next 3 years, much larger than what we're used to. Next year's kindergarten is projected at 220, and FY '29 is projected at 230. Those are really large numbers than what we're used to having, and those are live births. Those are students living in the district right now. That's not a projection. It's based on the data of live births in our community. You'll see an increase in the elementary level. Stays pretty consistent at the middle school level for the next few years, and at the high school level again stays fairly consistent. Overall, we're seeing an increase or uptick in our enrollment. We had a dip in '26, and now we're seeing an uptick in that enrollment. We do enrollment projections twice a year. So we have a company called NESDEC that does these projections, and we'll get them in the fall and the spring. And we also, because we were looking at the Dale Street project, we also had other projections done as a part of that, and they're all fairly consistent. So we're comfortable with these numbers that NESDEC has put with us and for planning purposes. But you'll see a couple of really big groups of kindergarten kids coming in. One of the things that we try to really educate people on is what it really costs to run the school district. And I think this is the current fiscal year that we're in, the current school year. There are 3 components to our school budget. There's a Chapter 70 aid, which we see at the $7.2 million. There's local contribution, which is the bulk, as you see, of our budget at $37 million. And then there's the grants, tuitions, and fees and revenue that we generate, which in this current year is $4.4 million. So I like to make this point that even though the budget is $44 million for the district this year, it really costs $49 million to run it as you see it, because we need to make sure that we have the tuitions, fees, and grants to offset those costs. So if we actually didn't do any of that, our budget increase in expense would be even more. So here's our offsets. Circuit breaker, which I've talked about twice now, is that special education reimbursement. You'll see that we're projecting $733,000 in revenue in that area, and our total expenses will be $883. And the reason why that's more is because we're able to carry over circuit breaker for 1 year. Excuse me, we're carrying over the $100,000 from FY '26 to '27 to help offset those costs. Preschool, this is based on increased tuitions. You'll see that $245. Our projected expense is around $259, which is another illustration of why we need to look at those costs. Kindergarten, getting in tuition revenue of $667 with potential cost at $458. Athletics at $320, and then the expenses at $290. In our building use, so we rent out our facilities, $140 with the total expense at $135. So these are all areas that we get as offsets for salaries and et cetera that offset the budget that count into that $4.4 million from the previous slide. Additional revolving accounts and offsets, parking fees for our high school kids, intramurals, music lessons, before and after school care. You'll see that before and after school care is much larger than it usually is, and that's because of the bridge after care program that we started this year with a new time change. That's brought in additional revenue for us. School lunch at 1.5. That is really due to the fact that it's free lunch, and I'm not sure that's going to continue in the state, whether that continues for next year, but that allows us to, free lunch and free breakfast allows us to build up that revolver. What we're doing right now, we got it approved, Mike would work with the state on this, replacing all the capital in our kitchens, because if you have 1.5 in the school lunch revolver, you have to spend on school lunch. You can't hire a teacher with it. So there's restrictions around that. So what we're doing is replacing some of the really old appliances and other features in our cafeterias with that money. But we're not sure that the free lunch will be statewide again this year. We haven't heard a definite on that. So our projected grants, early childhood special education grant, again, not a huge grant at 18,000, but important. The 240 used to be called the 194, 142 special education grant is a real big one for us at 631, and that pays for most of our Unit B folks. Our Title II, 26,000, it's an effective instruction grant that we use for professional development in other areas. And then there's the Chapter 70 state funding again, the 7.4 million, and that was the most recent number taken off the cherry sheet from the governor. Total at 8.1 million, and of course the big part of that is the Chapter 70. So looking at the analysis and the change by building, and remember, if the 80% of the budget is tied to salaries, when you look at the school salaries up here, the change, most of those are due to salaries of folks working there. So you'll see at the Memorial School, the increase at 212,000, 84 at Wheelock, 55 at Dale, and a lot of this is due to a couple of things. One, looking at reductions in that school, and two, depending on where people are on the pay scale. So if you have a younger staff, or a less experienced staff, I should say, lots of times you'll see that the number will be going up quickly because they're going to get steps on the pay scale, and they could potentially getting lanes as well. Whereas if you're a veteran person on top step, you might just get a cost of living, so it's not as much as an increase as someone who is working their way up the steps. Blake at 379, high school at 421, and you know that makes a lot of sense because there's a lot more staff at both Blake and the high school. And then district services, our special education, et cetera, at 310. Student services, policy administration at 20,000. So the change, there's the 1.7 change. And again, this is looking at a 3.9% increase, not the level funded, not the level service, which is 5.01. So you'll see the variance of 5.9 positions in this model here. And you'll see, if you can follow it across, that's where the reductions are made, for a total of, in the 3.9 version, of minus 5.9 positions. Just another visual of what we just went through. And this is what I talked about before, the functions that DESE makes us organize these in. So one of the things that we started last year was trying to do a couple of years projection by DESE functions so we could do a little bit of planning around the budget. You'll see that we projected out the FY28 and FY29. I just want to make a note that this FY27 number is a 3.09, and the projected for next year is over a 4% increase. Just based on what we know now. So we're going to be in a similar situation next year. We're going to be looking for a 4% increase for level funding, level service, and the following year at 50 million as well. So again, we were pretty close. I think, Michael, we did this projection last year. We were about 90,000 off when we did this projection. So it's going to be in that ballpark for sure. So that 3.9% increase includes all of the cost of living, steps, lanes, longevity for both Unit A and Unit B. Increase to transportation, both general transportation and special ed transportation. Increase to our supplies and services and utilities. Just our gas alone is going up 67% next year. So we use gas to heat all 5 of our buildings, and we do a pretty good job combining that with the town and purchasing it together. And it's going up 67% over the previous year. And we all know electric is certainly going high everywhere in your own home. We're looking forward to finally turning on the solar panels. We got notification today that the solar panels at Memorial are ready to go live. So that will help offset the cost. We have solar panels at Blake that are helping us offset some of that cost, and we're looking at possibly doing a project here to do that as well. I know that our facilities person, Michael Francesca, have worked really hard. If you saw the last school committee meeting, to work with a company that potentially could build a roof at the Blake, replace the Blake roof, put solar panels on it, and save the town about $4 million on capital costs. So we're trying to do our part there in the utilities area, but I think everyone's feeling the pinch at home as well with the increase in utilities. So what that 3.9 does not include, 0.5 FTE at central office, 1 FTE at Memorial, 2 FTEs at Dale, 1.4 at Wheelock, 1 at the high school, and K-5 literacy program funding. So if you don't know, our teachers have worked really hard the last couple of years to research and do some work around and piloting a new K-5 literacy program. That is not in this particular version of 3.9. So we're still looking at ways that we can try to fund that for next year, but it is not included in this budget. Just to take a look at FY26, the recommended budget, again, the change, we've seen this before, 1.7 million. So warrant committee guidance within the Proposition 2.5 framework is a 1.8% increase. So the current budget gap between the 3.9, which I'm proposing tonight, 3.9, and the guidance within the Prop 2.5 is still $940,000. So still close to $1 million gap between what we're proposing and what the warrant committee guidance is. Every year, every year there are additional positions that are requested by principals, directors, etc. These are positions that are not in the budget this year, and I just want to make the point at the bottom there that even though they're not funded and not in the budget, the need for these positions does not go away. So 0.5 adjustment counselor at Dale Street, math specialist at Dale Street, elementary BCBA, a math specialist at Blake, 0.4 wellness at the high school, 0.8 business at the high school, and 2 instructional coaches, which, if you follow these meetings before, that I put in every single year because we think that's an important thing for our school district to have, but did not make the 3.9. So additional reductions that would be needed if we were going to be within the guidance of the Prop 2.5. So this is for the 1.8. So this is the 3.9 reductions, and these are the additional reductions if we have to go to 1.8. We move an additional kindergarten teacher in the revolving account, which would save us $75,000 again if the tuition is increased back to what the original tuition was at $3,500. Eliminate 2 FTEs at high school, eliminate 2 FTEs at Blake, 2 FTEs at Wheelock, 2 teachers at Dale. We're going to look at moving 10% of custodians into the food service revolving account because we're able to do that because they do work in the cafeteria, and that will offset as well. Teacher PD and summer R&D, those are areas that we're pretty proud of the work that our teachers and staff do during that time. We would probably eliminate that to kind of free up some money as well. We also pay our teachers, if there's a district initiative that happens that is part of our strategic plan and there's committee work involved in that, we pay our teachers to be a part of that. We eliminated that as well. And then there's a sharing of district and technology expenses. So over the years, we've used the way that schools can purchase things in a large amount and have the town on board on that, and certainly can save the town money on that, but we have to look at that as potential reduction as well to get to the 1.8. So I know that not always, but sometimes we want to see how we stack up against other communities when it's a ranking or MCAS or something. Let's take a look at per pupil expenditure. Let's see how we do there. Our current per pupil expenditure, $20,887, only second to Medway at $19,000. And you'll see the other communities around us that are above us: Foxborough, Millis, Norwood, Sherburne, Needham, Westwood, Dover, Dedham. We were actually higher last year. We've fallen a little bit. Again, this is the apples to apples, comparison that is not done by us. We submit the end of the year report in September. The Department of Ed takes all the information of everything that's spent. So that $4 million is included in this. Everything is included in this. All we spend, everything but transportation, and then they decide what the per pupil expenditure is with their algorithm, and they figure that out. So then they publish all that. It's not something that we do. We don't sit with a calculator. It's a third party that does this, so it's an apples to apples comparison of what you spend as a district. So I'd like to keep this as well. The state average is $23,000. So if we spent the state average, our budget would increase by $5 million, or our actual, instead of 3.09, would be a 14.4% increase. if we were the average, if we spent the state average per pupil in this district, it would be an additional $5 million. So going forward, we have several meetings, public meetings that I invite people to attend. If you're interested, we have several school committee meetings coming up. The school department will be presenting at the warrant committee on February 24th. And of course, town meeting happens on May 4th, which everything gets finalized at that. So happy to answer any questions from the committee. Anyone in the audience has questions, Michael, I'm sure will help me out if I need it. We got a lot of line items here, so. Madam Chair, back to you.
You guys want to start?
Sure. Dr. Marsden, I may have missed it in here and in my numbers. What is the cost of the literacy program, K-5?
I'm sorry.
The literacy program costs? What was the?
$221,000.
And is that in, obviously that's not in the cut
No.
budget, but that's not in any of the versions you have here?
It's not any of those.
No.
I mean, that's one of the things that we're working really hard on to make sure we can preserve that, because we feel like obviously our kids were very excited about the program that was chosen. Our teachers were excited about the program that was chosen, and it's been 2 years of hard work with Christine and the teachers, and we think it's an important thing to do. So we're trying to figure out other alternative ways to do it, but it does not appear in the 3.9.
And that's all in, like, professional development,
That's
materials,
yeah.
everything?
That's
Okay.
everything, yeah. That's supplies, PD, everything.
Is that multi-year or year one?
That's year one. But the cost, it's more of an upfront cost for this program, so it's not gonna be a lot of workbooks and, every year cost, it's not gonna be that. So we feel pretty good if we can get to that number and get the program then.
And how much was the savings for the rolling back the full day K, payment deployment? How much are we saving by going backwards?
It's like 180.
180.
Well, I think we're saving at least one position there, but it could be multiple positions, because we would have additional money in the revolving account to move teachers that are currently in the operating budget into the revolving account, just like we did prior to. It's literally going back a couple of years that we've moved teachers back into the budget the last couple of years. We put them back into the revolving account like we did before.
Yeah. And how many, we have no half-day K currently?
No.
Okay.
Is there any idea about what class sizes would look like in kindergarten, especially with the large incoming class?
Yeah, I think we pretty much capped them at 21, 22.
And that can continue?
I think, Missy's worked hard on a plan to be able to do that. It's the other grades that will suffer, with the class size. I think you're gonna probably see class sizes, depending on whether it's 3.9 or 1.8, that go beyond your recommended class size in your policy manual.
Would these changes also potentially impact the cluster model at the middle school?
100%, yeah. I think
So
that would
we
be
would
something
be-
that would look at the cluster model, especially the 1.8 number.
Yep.
We have to really look at how we structure that and whether or not reductions can be made, and still, I think the class size will go up no matter what everywhere, but I think it will certainly go up there if we reduce the cluster or
Yep.
whatever we do. I think the 3.9, the goal of that is to really protect the instructional core, right? That's what we're trying to protect, the instructional core, protect SEL, those kinds of things. I think that's what we're doing. I think it becomes more and more difficult to do that if you go to 1.8.
A question about the point for a wellness teacher that was recommended. I know there's some new DESE guidance on wellness credits and gym credits that are needed for high school. Are there any concerns about being able to fulfill those credits of I think it's 0.25 every year or something like
No, I
that
think-
without
so
having that?
We're good with that. We
Okay.
actually changed that a couple of years ago. I think that the concern there is, number one, electives and offerings for our kids.
Yep.
And number two, class size in phys ed and wellness, I think are pretty large at the high school, depending on what period it is. But I think there was a reduction in wellness and phys ed at the high school, I think 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago? Yeah, and that hasn't been restored. So
No.
I think the high school folks are looking at partly restoring that over a couple of years, and that was the request.
Then, one of the things that this budget does point out that the public may not be aware of is that the town picks up the healthcare cost portion for our staff, correct? Yeah, and I think one of the items that probably should be expressed here is the impact that that actually has on the budget, because I think that was a driving factor for some of the recommendations from the warrant commission.
Oh,
Warrant-
for sure, yeah, we talked about that on that slide of the budget drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, you have a large percentage of the actual people that take insurance for the town are school employees, so yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. And I think that, that number went down a little bit this week, and I think it was really, based on the fact that GLP-1s aren't going to be covered. So I think that made a big improvement on our number for our community. It went down. Insurance was, I think it was going to be 18 or 19%, and it's down to 14. So it made a difference.
So I had a follow-up phone call yesterday with Josh Tarski from attending his office hours a few weeks ago, and we spoke a little about how it's a challenging budget season for Medfield, and he expressed that it's a tight budget season everywhere, and they're feeling it at the State House as well. So I just want people to understand that Medfield's not alone in this challenge that we have right now with the budget situation. Dr. Marsden, looking at the federal cuts under the grants, is there anything additional that the federal government could take money away from us outside of those grants?
Get to it. Those are the three that the main three that we get. So sometimes we'll get notified in August about Title I. We do get Title I sometimes we don't. Medfield kind of goes back and forth in terms of qualifying for it. So we had, I think it was 1 year, like 6-7 years ago, we had planned on it, and then they told us we didn't qualify for it, so we lost $85,000. And then other years we don't plan for it, we get additional funding. But that's really tied to a specific school that needs to get additional services in math or language arts instruction. So it's not like it's extra unrestricted money, but there's a lot of parameters around the use of that. So other than that, I think the 240 is really important to us. So that's really got to stay, because if that goes away, we're in trouble.
And then looking at the budget that stays under the Prop 2.5 guidelines, the 1.8%.
Yes.
I was just trying to look, how many positions roughly are we looking at, if that's, because this is an addition to the other ones, right? So
Right.
what's the total number we're looking at?
14.
I
Is it
thought it was
14?
14, right?
Okay. And then if we're looking at potential layoffs,
0.4.
how are unemployment costs calculated and incorporated into the budget?
So like health insurance, we don't cover the unemployment cost. That goes on the town side. So that would be a conversation, I think, with the warrant committee and the town administrator on how that works, because if we're going to do reduction in force, there'll be increased costs around unemployment.
And then that's great news that the solar panels are being turned on. Is there a cost savings that's incorporated into this budget for next year, knowing that that's happening?
Michael, what is it?
There is.
Oh, there is, okay, so that's already in there, okay.
And we've had great luck with the solar over at Blake. I mean, it's been really generating a lot of wattage for us. We were actually very surprised about it. It's been great. So hoping that happens over Memorial, and then we can expand that program over to Blake with a full roof, and then look at something for the high school.
And then, understanding that there continues to be a wait list for the preschool, do we have any sense on the revenue that we're missing out from not being able to offer preschool to everyone who might want it?
Yeah, we actually figured that out a couple of years ago. We haven't done it recently, but I know at one point, is he correct, we had 60 on the wait list? Yeah, so we had, a couple of years ago, we had that many. We tried to figure out what that would be based on what program they decided on, it's a substantial amount.
Did you say 60? 60?
6-0, yes,
Okay.
yeah, 6-0. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, that's not having the space to have that program hinders the revenue we can generate for sure.
Do you guys have more questions, or should I open it up?
Hillary, you have a question?
I
Okay.
have recommendations, not questions, but yeah.
So at this time, I'd like to open the floor for public comment and questions related specifically to the budget presentation. We'll conduct this portion similar to how articles are heard at town meeting. Speakers are invited to come forward one at a time. Please state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. Members of the public may speak more than once, but we'll aim to keep each comment to 3 minutes to ensure everyone who wishes to speak has a chance before anyone speaks again. If you're here in person, please come up to the microphone. If you're joining us remotely, please use the Zoom hand raise feature. This portion of the hearing is for budget-related questions or feedback only. There will be an additional public comment period later in the meeting for other topics. We have 2 microphones here and then online. Not one. Anyone online?
There's lots of people online, but no one is raising their hand right now.
Okay.
Sorry, what's the total full-time equivalents that we have today across the district?
3.
Yeah.
384.
And so we're talking about potentially reducing.
378, excuse me.
Reducing that by
384 and a half,
this. We're talking about reducing that by either 6 or 14,
Correct.
but there's no scenario where we reduce that by nothing. There's no scenario that there's no possibility that.
The 5.01
Yeah.
level of service was a scenario for that. What's in the budget, I don't know if you saw the
Yeah.
book, yeah, that's the scenario for that.
Is that's a possibility that'll actually get voted on, or is that a realistic option, is my question?
It doesn't appear so right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you just state your name and address?
Sorry about that. Michael Blumenthal, 22 Nolan Road.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Chris Fox, 7 First Street. I have a bunch of different questions, but I'll limit them to a couple for now. On the kindergarten, we talked about the enrollment projections. You showed the enrollment projections. Historically, they're pretty valid from year to year for everything but kindergarten. It's a bit of a wild card with kindergarten, even when you're looking at live births, because, there's a percentage that will hold their kids back, and we've seen that happen.
We've seen that, sure.
Yeah, where the numbers change. So there's a 2-part question. Is the projected revenue offset with the kindergarten tuition based on that 220 student enrollment projection, or is it based on a different number?
It's based on that, we minus some?
So the actual birth is higher than the 220, and then we subtract out our free reduced students, so that number is even, so it's at 200.
It's hard to hear you, Michael.
Yeah.
You gotta grab a mic.
Sorry.
You can have this one if you want.
I don't think that's going to be it.
The actual birth rate is higher than 220 for that year, so we take that in consideration, plus our free and reduced families in town. So what we actually project is 220 in the presentation. But what we do, we calculate it on is 200 students.
So it's based on 200?
200 students.
Okay. So does that represent sort of maybe historical data on how many families hold their kids back?
Yeah, we've seen anywhere from, 10 to 14 or 15 historically, hold their kids back, plus what Michael said, the free reduced students we take off, 2%.
Okay. So then another part of this is because we're depending now on another large amount of revenue from the kindergarten program. If we don't realize the projected amount, then that revenue basically would come out of the budget, correct? And where would the shift be if the difference would be if we come in with 180 students, for example,
Yeah, well, I think we have a buffer in that
Yeah.
account right now.
Okay.
That would allow us to to deal with that. We haven't really ever had an issue with people not coming to full day kindergarten. That's always been pretty consistent for us. So we don't foresee any issues with that at all.
Okay. No, it's just a matter of the actual versus the projected
Sure.
enrollment shifts off the tracks. Is there going to be, this is more not a question about getting information tonight, but a request for 2 sets of data? That would be great if you could post it on the website. And that would be an accounting of the revolving funds, like a full accounting of where the revolving funds are and how much, and then also the impact of the class sizes per grade under both scenario, and also to get a sense of, the key part, I think, at the high school and at the middle school is the core classes, to know how many, are in those core classes of English and math and science, for example, and to get that data, I think would be really helpful for people to see, so they can see the difference. My only 3 minutes. Just tell me now, so. And then the only question I had was the assumption, what was the assumption that was made for the number of students that we would be paying for in terms of tuition for inter-district school choice to other districts, or would be leaving? I didn't see that broken out in the number.
No, we don't. That happens again on the town side, that's not on our side, so we don't have, we don't have projection on that.
Okay, so when we pay out, I've seen it on the DESI data, that it comes out of the school budget?
No, they take it out of the cherry
The
sheet.
cherry sheet. And the cherry
Is that
sheet
a
is
sheet?
out,
Cherry
Yes.
sheet, okay.
it's subtracted right from that, yeah.
Okay.
Not out of our.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Anyone online? No one online. Anyone else?
I have a question. To this comment, and I don't even know if it's, but to say that like the 5.0, the level service budget, could we just have a huge could we vote an override at a number that gets us the 2.2 million we need? Like it's possible, right?
Anything's possible.
Yeah, but like,
Make those decisions.
as a town, if we decided, and sorry, I'm looking at Steve because I've learned from you, but like if we had a huge, like we could put anything we want on that thing, right? We could raise $10 million if we all decide to raise our taxes, right? Okay, so it is possible. Okay,
But the higher your override is, the less likelihood it
succeed.
passes.
understood.
So
But I
like,
just,
right there,
I'm
we have to-
a dreamer. Sorry, what's your name? Michael, like, we want to keep all our teachers and keep our school. It is possible. Okay, I just,
Yeah.
But when
Okay.
when your override fails, then you go back to the
So,
1.3,
Yes.
right.
So, Will,
if
to
we
you-
miss on a high number, then we go.
where really
Yes.
yeah, Will, to your point.
screwed.
Yeah. So, Will, to your point, I'm with you, except I may not go the create that. I mean, if you're going to go for it, go for that 5.6 to make us, what the state's spending. Like,
Yeah, just.
Yeah,
yeah.
I know Steve's talking about it, just to be clear that if we have an override and it doesn't pass, then it goes back to the 1.8, which is within the 2.5 framework. So
Right.
Right.
that's the risk you take.
So, and I think to that comment, I hopefully on the discussion today, looking at the projections, thank you, Michael and Jeff, for putting those together, the projections out for the next 3 years or more, we're exactly 1 million or so off each year off of the recommended projections from Warren. And I'm sorry, I'm focusing on this area, so when I suggest that. And barring having to do a request each year, and I know we did this in the past, so I was curious about the idea of a multi-year article in the first year that puts that spending out, so that we're not coming back to the town each year to do that. And at the same time, if we're going to ask, I kind of find it silly to ask for an almost $1 million override and not implement our new literacy program and some of the list of the other items in there at the same time as well. So I think maybe this is not what Will's saying, but I don't want to shoot for the stars, but I don't want to be impractical about the type of, professional organization that we're running here as a school district. And, no, I don't know about the term, but buy the BMW, but don't get the alloy wheels because they were just they were just a little too expensive for me, right?
And
So,
just to be clear, the override is not just to support the schools. The override is a town-wide override too. Oh, the override is not to just support the schools, the override is to support the entire town. So I think if what you're talking about, right, like, and you're asking for more for the schools, it could be spread. So I feel like, I also hear both your points, but I'm also want to be mindful and thoughtful about the additional expense for each household in Medfield to take on, so like.
can we be clear that if we were to, currently, the only conversation would be an override for the school operating budget, correct?
No, it's town.
No,
It's
it's
town.
town. It's a town operate, so if you increased it, I imagine you spread it out, like whatever percentages for all the departments, so
And I
those are
apologize if I didn't
different.
see what is the ask from the town side on top of the 900,000?
I'm gonna come back to you
Yeah,
guys just because we had opened it up, and Erin's gonna point to Kristen. Kristen, you go first.
Yeah, sure. So not at all critical. Kristen Simini, 431 Main Street. My new friend Michael over here, Will, it's really difficult in this town, and it upsets me when I look at all the empty seats and I think about how many people are not going to be involved in this process, and then we will get to a situation where we ask the town to vote. They won't have heard it all. They won't have seen the teachers. They won't understand everything that's at stake, and we will have a hard time. We can't get a school built in this town because of people's concerns about spend. And so as much as I am with you, having a student who is a part of this wonderful school system, I would be right there with you, because I think what we have is an amazing program with them. I look around this room, every one of these people, I see my son's guidance counselor, I see a second grade teacher, I see everybody who has supported my child and continues to support our children. I think we need everything that we're asked for here. And I think that our students and administrators need this. But I am very concerned about this town and our population getting behind the necessary budget, and that worries me. Because there already is this fissure between the two sides of the community. Do you still have kids in school? Do you not still have kids in school? And that's just the stark reality of it. So many of us did come here for the education, super excited about it. It has been a godsend in our household, and I continue to be very thrilled with everything that my child has encountered in the school district. And I'm very proud of Medfield, and I see family members in private schools and boarding schools, and they don't hold a candle to what my child has learned in this system through all of you. So I fully appreciate it. I would also like to ask for more and not lose programs and staff. And I love my friends on the warrant committee, but the proposed increase is just not realistic. So we're gonna have to ask for over. It's just, how do we get the community behind this successfully? So thank you for all of your efforts. This is not easy. And you're right, we're all feeling the pinch in our own households. So we can't expect that our schools are not feeling those same increases. Of course you are. So thank you.
Thank you. Someone.
I'm Erin Watson. I am a third grade teacher at Ralph Wheelock School, where I've worked for 30 years. I'm also the Medfield Teachers Union president. I'd like all the teachers in the room to stand up, just so we can see how many people are here tonight. It is way more than we have residents of this town. I'd like that noted. I'm with Will, and I'd like to shoot for the stars, and I'd like the warrant committee to listen to that. I also have worked really hard with Jamie Callahan, who is our literacy coordinator, and Christine Powers, who is your title's too long, Christine, Director of Curriculum Technology. And okay, so I've been doing a pilot now for 2 years, and I know Jamie and Christine have been working on this for more than 3. So to do this for 2 years with about 18 other teachers and not be able to go ahead and order a program at the end of this feels like an exercise in futility. And a shame for all of our students. But the other reason I wanted to get up tonight is just to say that the needs of our students have drastically changed in the past few years, but our resources and training have stayed the same or decreased. We're asked to do more and more with increasingly challenging students and less, and our standards and expectations continue to increase. In addition to this is a negotiation year for Unit A, and we're looking to fight for even an increase in our cost of living. And that also is looking at tackling, Jeff said it went down to 14%, a 14% increase in health insurance. It's a lot for people, and we're making less than we have in years. I've been here for 30 years and I've never seen this as bad. With the budget, staff and students and programs are all going to suffer without this override, and without an override more than we're asking for. Jeff said it before, if there's a rainy day fund, now is the time to use it because it's pouring.
Hi, Alice Bonomi, high school math teacher. 2 questions. Number 1, the amount of positions that need to be removed, does that factor in retirees? Like, is that in addition to people leaving our district just be from retirement?
That's a good question, Alice. So there are some retirees built in here. So that would be, we look at reducing those areas first if we could, because that makes a lot of sense because it saves a position for someone. So we're kind of working through that right now, but there are a couple that are built in.
Okay, second question. I know you said that like for the kindergarten, the class sizes would be at about like that 21, 22 number. Do you have any idea how the average class size would change at the high school or middle school or elementary?
I think I think the middle school and high school would depend on whether it's a 3.99 or 1.8. If it's a 1.8, the class size will increase, but also the options will decrease. So, like for instance, if we have students now that, I'll say BC Calculus, which is a real high-end, mathematics course that our students currently take, that might have to be online or something like that, so we'd have to do something to that effect. So I think that's what we're looking at. I mean, from my perspective, what makes the Medfield experience for kids so wonderful is the fact they have all these options and electives and all these other different programs that they can choose, and they can go down any avenue they want for their interests, right? I think that's, when they get older in high school, that's a really important part of finding what they want to do for college and the rest of their life, and I think we do a great job cultivating that here. And we have the same thing that happens in the younger grades, but a little more choice at the secondary level. I'm not sure we can sustain that level of choice based on what the 1.8 does for us.
Thank you. And just to make another statement, so I know that like I'm a high school math teacher, and I teach probably more of the lower level students. And my class sizes right now, although they are on the smaller end because of the fact that they are the lower levels, so they're capped at a certain amount. I can tell you right now that if I had larger class sizes, I would be more exhausted than I am right now. It is exhausting, especially when working with students who hate math, and I know that that's a reality. I know there's people in this room that probably say that they hate math, but increasing our class sizes would be detrimental to some of our students. Thank you.
Pete Mongelli, I'm at 38 Flintlock Lane. Just a couple questions. So the 3.9 number already was calling for 6 teachers to be removed.
5.9 is.
And the 1.8% is it 14?
14.4, yeah.
Okay, I don't, as a new resident who's been here since 2024, I don't think either of those are acceptable. So I think we need to retain the teachers that are here. We need to keep this a desirable school district. I think, as you just heard, that's going to increase class sizes, it's going to increase stress on students. The student experience is going to be worse over time, and desirability to live here and to send your kids to this district. So that's just a comment on that. Also, we are in the top 30 districts in the state, based on however you want to rank. There's a lot of them. I've been looking at some data, and I know percent of students meeting or exceeding targets was 82% in 2024 and 75% in 2025. With either of these cuts, do we see that trend? Would you expect that trend to
Yeah, I wouldn't
go
call
down?
one year of MCAS a trend, but, you know, it's just that group of kids in that particular day.
Still, I mean, like,
Yeah, I mean, it makes it more difficult for kids to do well, right? I mean,
We have less teachers,
less
less-
adults, less
yeah.
teachers, yeah, it's certainly gonna make life more difficult, for sure.
okay. That's kind of what I was just kind of placed out pretty straight, yeah. So just for one note, inflation last year was 2.7%. Inflation in 2026 is projected at 2.5% to 3%. So anything less than that number is throwing money away, not keeping pace, not investing in our town or our students. So I think the 1.8% number absolutely would not be acceptable to me as a resident here. So you have to proceed with the 3.9, and for our friend in the second row here, like 5% or higher, keep it coming, man. Like, we're willing to pay for that stuff. We have kids in this town. We want to have good schools. I moved here. I have 3 kids. I want to have good schools when they grow up. I have 1 in the school system now and 2 that are young. So please invest in the schools in this town. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Good evening, Sarah Brown, 14 Grove Street. I grew up there. I live here still. I'm a 17-year teacher, English teacher here at the high school. So proud. Sent both my kids through here. They're college and beyond now, and I will definitely be voting for an override. I'm wondering if there's a way to do multiple scenarios of an override and present them at the same time? Or do we have to just go with one? And then if we don't get it, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, we don't do that.
Yeah, I
on the
think that's a
school side.
warrant committee.
Is it, the select board and the warrant committee decide that, we don't.
Is it something
I'm-
possible? Have you ever heard of anything like that happening?
I have seen either ors on ballots before, yes.
And then is there, a way to help? I know there was another resident here who brought this up, but a way to try to make it more of a marketing campaign or some sort of a campaign to make sure that more people are aware, other than, like, for instance, the people in this room.
You
Yeah,
certainly can
I
lead
think
that.
Once there's an actual vote to establish an override and what that number is, I think that's when that process starts, but they're still in discussions and it's not determined yet, so. I think there's, I don't want to speak for the warrant committee, but I think there's a consensus, there's a need for an override. I think there are discussions around how much. So that, once that happens, I think that campaign will start, for sure.
Fingers crossed.
Back to this mic.
Kylie Eagles, 5 Spring Street. I've been in this town for 12 years, and I specifically moved to Medfield for the schools. So we were in Millis before, and we wanted to move to a school district where we wouldn't have to send our kids to private school. Despite that, I'm a private school high school graduate, and so I still felt a little bit biased towards private school, and so I did force my child to interview and look at other private schools for high school. After all of the tours and looking at the options available to private school kids compared to the options available to them here at Medfield, to the class sizes, to the quality of the chemistry rooms and everything, I investigated it all. Medfield was better. And so we are staying in Medfield Public School, even though I could afford to send my kid to private school, because I think that Medfield will offer her a better opportunity. And my 8th grader is so excited about the opportunities to take business and finance and all of these extra offerings. And I am so excited for her that she's thrilled. And I don't want her to lose that. I don't want her to lose that access. And the teachers here are the most compassionate teachers I have ever met. Like, my children literally brag about their teachers to other children at other schools, and they also will brag about who they're friends with as teachers. And I just think that is invaluable. The most important thing to me about a kid is that we keep them passionate and excited about learning, and this school does that. And I would be curious to know exactly how much our taxes would go up if we approved the 5 or the 3.9. I agree, the 1.8 is not adequate. I honestly think we should go for the 5 if possible, but again, for me to look at private school for 2 kids, it's $75,000 a year times 2 kids. I can't imagine my taxes going up $75,000 or $150,000 a year to approve this override. And I would really try, I would love to figure out how we can get the families and, you know, members of this community who don't have children to understand the invaluable investment we are making in this future generation and how it will actually benefit Medfield, because guess what? Kids will come back and they will invest in the community. So I think it is 100% worth it.
Thank you. Do you have people online?
There is. No one's raising their hand.
No hands online, okay. Anyone else in the audience? Back to the committee?
I can talk, right?
Yeah, go for it.
So, I appreciate what you just said here, but, because, I mean, there's like 5,000 houses in Medfield, right? So math teacher brain, back of the napkin math here. We need $2 million. There's 5,000 houses. I'm pretty sure that's $400 a house, and I don't know the percents and how the override all works. But if we all pay $400, if we don't go out to eat twice, then we get to keep all our teachers for our kids. Like, I don't understand, but I appreciate the giggles because I don't always know like what I can talk and what I can do. But like, I just don't understand it. But I understand I'm talking to 50 teachers and 20 residents. But it like feels like we need a marketing campaign here, right? Like that's what we need to do to ask people to not go out to dinner twice so that their kids don't have to lose 14 teachers that help them in their growth. Like we hear all these stories. I have pages of things I wrote down. I'm not going to share it all because it's a long speech and everyone in the room saying the same thing, right? But so I think it's like a marketing effort that we need here for those people that are residents. We need $400 a household and we don't lay off a single teacher. I'm going to ask for more because like Jeff said here, there's 6.7 jobs we put up there. We need more reading specialists. Maybe I need to learn how we pick the number for the overrides, and all or nothing is a scary thing for sure. If we miss, we'd be in huge trouble. But we just can't miss. We just have to talk to our neighbors and go to the bus stop and figure this stuff out because it's just, I am coming from a place of privilege. I understand that, but many, like if you're here and you're voting, your house is worth money too. Okay, we need to figure this out. I think that's it. I might do this one more time, but like we're just talking to the people out here saying the same thing. But
I would love to keep every teacher. I would love to see the 5%. And if we could make it happen and we could get people to pass the override, I think that would be amazing. I think we also have to be conscious that we are going to be asking money for a new school as well the year after. So I just feel like, yes, I'm in a position where I would 100% fund it. I think but I do think we have to think about the makeup of the town and how much people are reasonably willing to spend, knowing that we have a school vote that I really feel strongly needs to pass, because in addition to getting the 14 teachers I want to keep, I also feel like we are doing a disservice to our children who still need to go to school in the Dale building. So I want to make sure if we do a marketing campaign that people understand that both those things really need to happen and it's not one or the other. Because I would hate to see a bigger override pass and then we fail a school vote again. And I don't know what the perfect answer is. I don't want to see people's jobs lost. I don't want to see the services we offer our students cut. But I also think I want to take into account that there are students going to school currently in a building that is not up to par on what I think any child should be educated in.
Yeah. So I agree with my colleagues, and I think one of the things about the impact to the houses, they're all things that can be definitely done well by the Warrant Commission about things that what payments are rolling off of our books that we can then replace the projects that we're currently paying for, like roofs projects and other things that we're paying for that are going to come off that could be replaced with this, so that's a lesser impact of people on fixed incomes. I'm going to go out to dinner with Will, by the way, next time. But in all seriousness, the echoing is very telling that this room is full of our teachers and not our residents. And we do have.
We do have about 40 people online.
Okay,
and many of them, based on, I'd say half are teachers, but I would say about another half are residents. So there is a bigger number of residents.
Well, I would say
probably
that
online.
there's probably a large number of our teachers that love this community and live here too. I would imagine people in the room raise their hands who live here, right? So I rest my case. And so I think I agree, and I think what we're probably charged with is to go back and work with the town and warrant committee on those scenarios. But I think what we're charged with tonight is which budget to vote to move forward with. Am I correct, Dr. Marsden?
When we get to that point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Leo, when we get to that point.
Yeah, okay. But what we're charged with tonight is to pick a budget to move forward with and vote that, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Microphone, please.
I'm Kristen Bewley. I probably don't need the microphone. I'm a middle school teacher, and I know that everyone has already said this, but I just want to remember, and I want to make sure everybody else remembers, that there are actual positions and actual services that are tied to these numbers, because we desperately need a literacy program, desperately. And we desperately need more services for kids, and we're talking about cutting services for kids. And so when we don't have a reading specialist to service those kids, when we don't have the literacy program to have a fluid structure continuing them K through 5, these things, our kids are going to suffer. And those things that I'm talking about I'm a middle school teacher, but we see it. And we see the need, and I just don't want people to forget that that's what we're talking about, because regardless, we're looking at losses in our district. And those are going to have major impacts on kids. So I know everybody said that already, but I just wanted to make sure I reiterated it.
I went back and, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Chris Potts, again, 7 Curve Street. 2 questions. One is, would you consider doing the public hearing on school choice earlier than June, which is past the end of the budget season? Or have you already made up your mind that that's just something that you're not going to consider, and so why have a public hearing on it where it can actually positively influence the budget?
We haven't discussed that yet. I guess it's something we could consider. We usually have it in May, not June. And I guess from a school choice standpoint, we're talking about class sizes, and that invites more kids into the situation when we're looking at cutting positions. So I feel like there's just a lot of things to weigh here outside of just the monetary piece of that.
So I guess what I'm saying is there are pros and cons. I understand the pros and cons. I don't think most residents understand what the pros and cons are. There are districts that have used it positively, and all I'm asking is that from a budgeting standpoint, most districts will do their public hearing on school choice as part of the budgeting process, so everybody has all of the information about the pros and cons. I'm not here to tout one is better than the other. All I'm asking is that it's only fair as part of the budgeting season, before you make these decisions, that people really understand the pros and cons. I mean, you bring in revenue. It doesn't necessarily change the class sizes, especially when we don't have the data on what the actual class sizes are per grade. And especially at the high school, where there's a lot of variables that go into the high school, like electives and core classes, and that's where we have the lowest enrollment right now. It's the lowest we've ever seen it at the high school. So I'm just advocating for a public hearing, not about whether or not we adopt school choice, but so people can have all the information as part of this budgeting process. I think that's really important, because that's what other districts have been doing.
Chris, I will tell you that I started crunching numbers on that, and I will share those with my colleagues at the time. So I will tell you that you have been heard, and I will share those numbers that I've done and the research I've done on that for here in Medfield. Okay.
Again, it's a request for a hearing,
Yep.
not for the actual
Jeff, do you know if Medfield has ever done the hearing for school choice earlier, like when the 2000s, the 210, 215, when we did those over? I just want to understand if this is a new thing, or if this has been legacy and we stopped doing it to make sure it's an even field.
That make it part of their budget process of the districts that are in the program, because they have to build that revenue into their budget, so that's when they do it. Districts that don't participate in school choice don't do it as part of their budget.
Right, and just so my understanding, most districts that we use as our comparison points when we're doing teacher salary and all of that, do school choice or don't do school choice?
Do not do school choice.
Okay, that's what I thought, thank you.
Again, the request is,
I know what your request was, I was asking a question too.
Okay, so what I'm saying is you should actually look at, Newton is a great example. The superintendent came forth, made an incredibly strong recommendation for Newton to pursue school choice. They had over probably a 3, 4, 6 month period, multiple hearings where they broke down school choice into very specific components to help people understand every single component. The school committee ultimately voted against it, so they did not adopt it. But they went through an amazing process to educate everybody about it, and they didn't go forward with it. But I mean, I have all the documents from Newton. They're incredibly helpful to look at their process of what they did to educate the community as part of a very tight budget season in Newton too. I mean, look at what the teachers got in Newton. They got an amazing increase, and they did that without school choice. So there was a lot of pressure on
Strike will
them.
do that for you.
They did. They were on strike last year, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And they promptly cut a lot of positions the next year to pay for it.
I know.
What I'm saying is that they went through the process of doing that in the midst of negotiations. And, you know, I hate to, we
is 5.01% to be fully funded. I heard multi-year override. I heard a school-only override. I heard we need to keep the Dale Street project in mind as we look at our funding options. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who spoke, because I know those are similar themes, but they're not new themes. But I do think it's important that we look at what we actually value and figure out what that means and be able to move forward in that space. So, any additional comments? All right, at this time, seeing no further questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to close the FY27 budget hearing.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Diana Frischella, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Will Horn, yes.
Sophia Viglis, yes.
And before we take the next vote, I just want to be clear for the public that accepting the superintendent's recommended budget, which would be the 3.9%, does not mean that the process is complete. It allows the budget to move forward while continuing discussions with the town in the weeks ahead. I would like to make a motion to accept the superintendent's FY27 budget as presented. Oh, one?
I think that's what I had.
You can change the motion.
Yeah, how do we do that?
You just change it.
You just
Amend.
say-
Motion to amend.
A motion to amend to a level service 5.02 budget.
Second?
All in favor? Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Sophia Viglis, yes.
Diana Frischella, no.
Leo Brem, yes.
Will Horn, yes.
Okay. Well, that budget is now our budget, yes.
Yes.
This budget will now move forward in the town's budget process and may continue to evolve prior to town meeting. Wait, did I not close the hearing first?
I think we did.
Okay, so that concludes the hearing then. So we'll move on to our main meeting. I'll open the meeting with a roll call of the school committee. Michelle Kirkby here.
Diana Frischella here.
Leo Brem here.
Will Horn here.
Sophia Viglis here.
All right, at this time, I'd like to open public input. Members of during the public input, either here or on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand. We ask that you keep your camera on when making a Zoom comment and that you follow school committee policy for public input, including speaking for no more than 3 minutes and only on topics under the purview of the school committee. Whether you're here in person or on Zoom, please state your name for the record. No one?
So hold on, can we, Darcy's saying she did raise her hand to ask, but
Okay.
it's not showing up,
You
so.
can recognize her.
Right, so I don't think I can promote her.
Oh, and we need to promote
Oh, and
somebody?
we need-
We need to promote somebody.
Sure.
She can ask her question or make her budget comment now if she wants
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, it's open comment anyway.
Yeah.
It's Darcy Robertson.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Diana. I won't take that personally. No.
Do not take it personally.
A couple things. I just want to quickly say thank you so much for also offering this online, because I think there are a lot of residents who really do care, but for certain reasons can't be there in person tonight. So I appreciate that. Also appreciate all of you and your thoughtfulness in this work. In terms of the marketing campaign or an idea about informing residents, I think it's really important for people to understand that other towns are in similar positions. I think that there's a big feeling that Medfield always has these issues of not being able to fund things or fund things for the school. I hear that a lot. So really educating people on what's happening in terms of the federal government, reimbursements of the state, and how that's affecting towns other than just Medfield, I think is a really important message to get out there. Third, just a comment. I appreciate all of the teachers who spoke up tonight. I particularly think about the Dale staff who already worked really hard to get a school to pass and had that fail, and have to imagine, as a former teacher myself, how it must now feel to have a district that wants to cut 2 positions in my building when I was promised a new school and didn't get it. My one question was, in terms of the ELA pilot, because I've seen ELA over time as my son has been in school here overall as a weakness, and was really excited about getting one and really excited about the program that you all chose. How much money have we already invested in that in terms of professional development or materials? I know it's hard to put a value on time, but I wonder, are we wasting money if we now don't take on the curriculum, given that we've spent all of this time and effort in getting there?
Yeah, you can.
Do you know?
Yeah.
I would just say that because it didn't make it into the FY27 budget doesn't mean we're not working at ways to try to get it for our teachers and our students next year. So we're looking at other alternatives to do that. It's not something that is definitely not going to happen right now. We're still working on that. We have done really just spent money on materials for pilot teachers, but we also did that with teachers that did other pilots as well. So it's not like we're wasting a lot of money. We're spending the money to figure out exactly what is best for our kids. So I think it's not out of the question that we'd get it for next year. It's just not in the FY29 budget. We're trying to figure out ways to get it for our kids for next year. So we're looking at different avenues around that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Any other public comment?
No.
Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have the approval and retention of executive session minutes from January 15th, 2026, approval of regular meeting minutes from January 15th, 2026, Medfield High School student activity new sub-account request, MHS overnight field trip final approval, DECA state competition, Boston, Massachusetts, March 12th through March 14th, 2026, Massachusetts Association of Student Council Annual Conference in Hyannis, Massachusetts, March 4th through March 6th, 2026, and donations in the amount of $750 from the Blake PTO to be deposited on the Blake gift account for the Josie Vachon World Language presentation. Does anyone have any questions or comments on anything in the consent agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Where's everybody going? My policy is not done yet, the policy subcommittee report.
Very exciting.
Very excited.
Dr. Marsden, is there any other items since posting on January 27th, 2026?
No other items, Madam Chair.
Okay, then we'll move on to old business. Policy ECAF, security cameras in the schools. Second reading, potential vote. Hand it over to you.
Sure, there have been no changes since we met as a subcommittee and since it was first presented. Again, it was just the insertion of language that would allow us to put cameras on school buses. So that was the only change within that policy. I asked that you approve as presented.
Can I just one question? What is the timeline for when, if this is approved, when this happens?
You know, Michael?
Having some bus troubles.
They're already ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Buses
bus
are
the
equipped.
bus company it's all ready to go. They've purchased those because we're probably one of the only ones around that doesn't have that. So they can install them as soon as you folks vote for policy.
And the communication to families, does that go out separately, or is it just if people are paying attention to this?
Do we need to?
I don't know.
tell
That's
families?
just, I don't know.
I think we could definitely send something out.
It has to be on the bus,
Yeah.
too. It's labeled on the bus.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar to what we did when we put inside cameras in the schools, we did that same thing, so.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right, the motion carries. Mobile phone, social media task force update, Dr. Marsden or Will?
We're meds, because
We haven't, so we had screenagers scheduled for last Monday, but
Yeah.
the snow, we postponed it to this Monday. So we're looking forward to that. We'll have a showing of screenagers in the elementary edition on that, and then we'll have a panel and a community conversation afterwards. So we're looking forward to getting folks. I think the last time I checked, there were 39 people signed up, which is good. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, so come out on Monday, and then just the Facebook groups going from that, right? There's Facebook groups for the Wait Till 8th stuff. Be the other place if you're interested in that conversation.
I'm excited. Should be good.
Yeah.
looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, Medfield School Building Committee update. Do we have an update?
Go ahead.
So we were able, we got the RFS, excuse me, back from MSBA, and it was posted on the Central Register today and in the newspaper as well, so we're still on schedule. So I let the chairs know. We had a little bit of back and forth with MSBA on a few items, and they gave us some feedback. We made some changes, and that was approved. So we're excited that we're on schedule. I know that Carolyn Casey is working really hard to get the schedule together for the OPM interviews and all of that. So she's been working on that and it's tough trying to coordinate everyone's schedule to get a time where everyone can be there on the committee. So hopefully by early next week, when we meet next Wednesday, we'll have that all straightened out in the days and the times.
I mean, this is a real, just so everyone knows, that the posting the RFS gets the clock ticking, and so that means things are really moving, because that's a real big first step.
It sure is.
And so, and once that person's on board, they make the trains run on time for that process, and so that's when it really starts getting exciting and busy.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Yep.
Okay. Any updates from a community engagement, communication standpoint? Okay. Hillary, how you doing down there?
Good.
Do you have any updates?
Not many updates. I think after the snow day and everything, tests are being pushed back, so it's been a busy week. But other than that, I think everything's going well at the high school. Yeah.
Great.
Can I just, this is more community, but because of the snow, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I just want to make sure that the fire hydrants near the schools do get dug out.
Mhm.
There was some belief that a parent had to go dig out the one near Memorial.
Oh, really?
Yes, so just as a FYI, it was that, and then some people were told that maybe some of them weren't functional. So I just want to make sure that that's
Okay.
like, we
We
can
can
dispel
check-
that
we
rumor.
can check
I
into
would,
that,
I would
yeah.
think, well, 100% they should be working.
Yeah, we'll
And
check
I thought the town would dig out the ones. I know they don't do it in your neighborhood, but I thought, the schools they would. That's what I thought. I'm just saying that was.
That's the narrative.
I think Michael should go test them personally.
Agreed. Okay, we'll look into that, Diana, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Informational items in our packet.
So in your packet with just informational items that Accept Collaborative forwarded to us, so all school committees that are affiliated with Accept Collaborative or board members, superintendents and board members, all receive this. So the audit report, the annual report, the FY27 annual budget, the tuition rates, the Q2 FY26 Treasurers Report, and the Q2 FY26 Executive Director Report. So we have an interim executive director there that we just put in place for a 2-year interim position, and she's just doing some great work, and certainly some areas that need to be improved there. So she forwarded all that to us, and it's just required to send that your way.
Okay. Anything else?
Now, I would just add on the future agenda items, we're going to have DECA
Right.
do a presentation. I know
Great.
that Karen and the kids are really excited about that. So Hillary, you going to be a part of that?
Yep, I'll
Good.
be.
Awesome.
Awesome. So we're looking forward to that coming up as well.
Okay. Our next meeting will be 1 week from today. Location change, we will be in the Blake Middle School auditorium as the high school has, can you talk about it, because I'm not there yet.
Orientation
There you go.
for students and their parents in the high school next
Eighth
Thursday.
grade.
And they're
Eighth
using
grade
every
gets to go.
available space, so.
All right.
So,
I like the road show. That'll be fun. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.